Some of you may know that Bricklink is already on the up and up, but did you know since March of 2021, Bricklink has had a 250% increase in the items listed on Bricklink? Let me slow that down real quick. Looking at March of 2021, Bricklink on average had around 600,000 items listed for sale. Now, items aren't exactly, each part. One item might be a listing of 1,000 parts, or one item might be a new set that was listed. 600,000 listings in a month, which is pretty crazy. Now, flash forward to March of 2023, that number is now 2.1 million. It's actually over 2.1 million. I'm just rounding these numbers, but that's insane. That's a crazy growth rate for Bricklink, and I'm really curious to see if this number is going to keep going up or if it's going to kind of plateau and stay around this number. From 2021, even 2020, the numbers stayed around like 500, 600,000, and then it started having this nice growth. Overall, I'm going to show you this cool feature on Bricklink that allows you to see the newly listed items. It'll allow you to see other items that are listed, quantities per month, and so forth. So pretty much you can look at some cool data and kind of understand how big this marketplace is. And you could also look at these new listings and kind of search through them to see, hey, is there something newly listed that I want to get my hands on before somebody else does? Overall, let's get right into Bricklink and I'll show you that. Once you're in Bricklink, you go up here to the market area, and in this, you'll find the tab for new listing. When you go here, the first thing that comes up is items for sale by date listed. This is where it shows anything that's been listed for that particular month. You can actually filter out a certain person, whether it's yourself or somebody else's store, and see what they've listed as well. But this is just a summary of everything that's been listed on Bricklink, whether it's parts, sets, figures, books, anything. And as you can see, these numbers are insane. As I did mention before, I mentioned that there's 2.1 million items listed in March so far, and I think this is the record for now, but I've only gone back about 2 years, 2 to 3 years. And when we go back 2 years here, back to March of 2021, as you can see, it's 605,000 items listed. Again, that does not mean, quantity of parts. That is total listings, and one listing could be 1,000 items, or one listing could be one set, or an instruction booklet, or a box. For example, this is one item, one listing, but then there you see 131 of that plate there, or tile, and that is also one listing, not 131 to that total. You could also filter it over here to see whatever you want to see. Right now I just put in highest quantity, but you could also search for parts or sets or figures listed on a certain date. And here, as you see, these numbers are extremely high for one listing. I don't know how, I mean, that's a lot of parts right there. But overall, again, whether it's 37,000 items there, parts, by quantity, it only counts as one listing. Now, when we go back here, there's other things you could search for. You can search for the next thing in line is members registered. This will show you how many people are registering on Bricklink every day and every month. This number does not have the same type of growth that we have in the other sections. However, it's still staying around the same area. It's shown a little growth over the years, and it does have peak times, maybe around the holidays or when people have money after the holidays to go on Bricklink and start buying things. They're registering accounts. The next thing we see here are the messages posted. You can, again, check this daily. You can see it monthly. And again, there's just a lot of data here that most people don't need to see. However, if you wanted to check on a particular day to see a message or whatever the message board had, you can search this way. And you could, again, search a particular person and see, okay, what messages have they put on the board if you're following somebody or have friends on here and you want to see what their messages were. Next, you can see catalog items added. This is a really cool one to see because you can actually select a date and see what was added to Bricklink. And again, these are typically new sets or parts that Bricklink has added. Again, you'll see spikes at the beginning of months where new sets came out from Lego. And again, you'll see things like this where, okay, this part was added. You can then click the part, click the set, and we see, hey, this set's from 2019. And finally, the sticker parts were added. Usually some of these have a lag in when sticker parts are added because a new set is typically just parted out as new parts and your sticker sheet. However, as time goes on and people have used parts, they will then make these listings for the used parts with stickers. Then you could see catalog items that were changed. These are all sorts of different things. An example I show here is just a simple color code for a part being changed over to a new number. This is all kind of background stuff for Bricklink that most of us don't need to necessarily know about. But it's cool to see what goes on behind the scenes to make this all happen and make things work properly on Bricklink. That way things are easily searchable and findable. Inventories added are actually sets, parts, or figures that have a new inventory that was added. They inventory a set and say, hey, here are the parts or items that are in it. Example, this one here, 7 parts. But you could go through this list for many things and see when the inventory was added for a particular part or figure. This wheelbarrow is new. This was added where now you can have the two parts, the wheel and the wheelbarrow piece itself. And you could also look at things like figures and see that every once in a while, they'll come in and then add the new parts for these figures where they have the images and custom parts, and it'll say this new next to it. And that's pretty cool. That's a great example there showing that, okay, this is a new figure that was inventoried, new parts, and they say new. The next section here is changed inventories in Bricklink. Usually this is just somewhere where they add parts that were missing from the original listing or sets that were redesigned. In this case, however, it's simply adding extra parts to a set. They want to make sure that if you want to list this with extra parts, you should include the following. But again, certain sets like the Slave 1 had a redesign where then they have new parts to add into that inventory listing for the second version of the set, and the old parts that are those counterparts are then going to be alternate items for that set. And finally, this last feature I love, where they create relationships for certain parts. It could even be sets, where sets have similar numbers. In this case, you will often find a lot of Lego parts that have a very similar design to another part. However, they have a different part number because it's a different mold, and usually a redesigned part that was redesigned for structural aspects or to prevent things like cracking and breaking. We've also seen things in here where I'm going to show you an example with the Indiana Jones tent. This tent piece was very awesome. I grew up with it, with the set. I loved it. However, they added the relationship here between another tent piece that is the same exact canvas style, however a different print. And that is why you'll see this relationship below it where you can click on it. And again, if you're on this one right here, you can click on the relationship below it. There's the set it was in. When I go back to the part here, you can see there's the relationship to click below it to go to the other part. If you're looking for, the same tent, different pattern, there it is. If you want to do this yourself, go to the market section and click new listing, and that's where you can find all this information. Thank you for checking out this video. If you found it helpful, please hit that like button. If you're curious what's behind me, this train set, and what I got going on with baking soda and vinegar, then subscribe, because next Tuesday I'm releasing a train video, and this train is going to be in that video. Thank you for checking this out. Subscribe to see more, and in the meantime, check out this cool video. It's another fun one on my channel. Thank you.
Lego, my Jameso.